Hello, literature lovers. Today we are going to talk about Greek civilization. It starts with Athena, that Athens patron, goddess of wisdom, war, arts, and craft. Talk about olive tree, monuments, statues in her honor. The Parthenon, Athens temple, which was ruins of the Athens temple on the Acropolis. Athenians built a huge statue of Athena inside the Parthenon. You can see, quite wonderful. Now, Athens' humble beginning. Let's talk about how it all started. It was a slow start, slow to come into the prominence, less advanced than other polis. No major trade routes, no land shortage, growing population was okay, less political pressure from outsiders, and you can see in the map it's quite clear how we can bifurcate and talk about it. This is an artist's interpretation of what the ancient city of Athens might have looked like and may have saw in many other movies related to it. Let's talk about Athens' earliest form of government, favoring the nobles, which was ruled by aristocrats and got most vast land and dominated religious and political life. And you can see the sculpture talks about it. Now talks about the clothes make the man. For the ancient Greeks, clothing was less about style and more about status, and you only had to see a person's clothing to determine his station in life. So look closely at this picture. Tell who is at the top of the social ladder and who is at the bottom. It's quite clear. Talk about chiton. Many wealthy Greek women wore a linen chiton like the ones you can see here. This garment was made from a very long and very wide rectangular piece of fabric that was sewed up at the side and then pinned on soon at the shoulders. Women often wore a belt around the waist. Talk about children clothing. Greek babies often wore nothing at all, but sometimes they were cloth diapers. If it was cold, and they would be wrapped in a warm blanket. Many children wore cloth wrapped around their middles like shorts. As they grew older, aristocrat children would begin wearing robes like their fathers wore. Talking about Athens' ruling council, starts with Areopagus. No written laws at the first, but rules are based on tradition, aristocratic preference. Athens' government by Areopagus is the council of nobles. Term comes from hill where nobles met. The Romans called it the Mars Hill because it was dedicated to the god of war. Talking about archons, the council elected 9 archons every year. Then magistrates, that is the judges, served for 1 year, then joined Areopagus, served on Areopagus for life, and archonship, is equals to a stepping stone to the position of Areopagus. That's a painting, a bit scattered though, but shows a picture of it. Now, quarreling in the change, Athens noble argued over land, food. Cylon tried to control, but failed, and Draco emerged as the leader. Now, Draco's rule, the authority to codify, publish laws at first. The laws were harsh, written in blood, you can say, and result people really get angry at the nobles. And though Draco was abusing his power, Draco's laws were so severe that people today refer to harsh laws as draconian law. So now you know why it is called the draconian law whenever a rule is made because of the Draco. Now, crisis food shortages were there at that time. Poor soil conditions, natural habitat was like no crop rotation was there because of lack of knowledge, and expensive to plant crops it was. Debt and poverty was there, farmers were in debt and promised portion of crops to the lender. That was a compulsion, and some pledged wives, children, and themselves for loans. Result that many Athenians were poor, in debt, and enslaved. Some sold abroad. Now, Solon, the first reformer, it was elected as the only Akron that year and given new authority, create laws, amend the constitution, enacted reforms that helped Athenian citizens. And Solon's economic reforms, he started cancelling the debts, forbade loans that could result in slavery, and brought many enslaved Athenians back. Solon's reforms, shaking off the burden. The benefits of economic reforms, it led to forbid the export of wheat for Africa, not dependent on foreigners, encouraging the export of olive oil, wine into cash. Now changed standards of weight and measures, confirmed with other affluent, encouraging the trade. This ancient vase shows us how Greek farmers harvested olives, and can you tell what they are doing? You can see clearly. The importance of olives, olive oil was used every day for many things, starting with eating. A typical meal might include fresh bread, wine, and olives. Cooking, lamping, bathing, all of it's included. Olive oil has many other uses. Here we can see in the lamp, you use olive oil. Greek men rub olive oil on their body, then scrape it off, taking dirt with it. This is what this Athlete is doing for in this picture. You can see ancient vase. The standard weight measures were there. You can see these are some antiques. Solon changed Athenian standard of weights and measures so that matched the weight and measures. Then other leading policies were used. Now Solon's political reforms lead to the change in constitution, earlier citizenship, adult males with citizen fathers. Citizenship now included foreign artisans, immigrant tradesmen, merchants, added court of appeal, weakened the nobles' power. 4 classes of the society, first and second group, the highest one for the archonship, third could serve as hoplites, possible election to council of 400 citizens. Fourth group, the thets, the landowners, not nobles, vote for archons and civil members, council members, and council businessmen. Pisistratus, the Athens' first tyrant. When you talk about tyrant, it is the ruler who comes to the power in unorthodox or unconstitutional way. Then comes the nobleman, tried to overthrow government, failed twice, came back with mercenary soldiers and succeeded. Public works program encouraging the religious piety, built temples and religious centers, supported poets and artists, brought attention to Athens through festivals. His political policies include increasing the power of central government, power taken away from nobles, circuit judges heard cases in country, weakened power of local nobles, making the people happy, honored Solon's constitution, assemblies, council filled with Pisistratus supporters, people generally happy with his rule. Next comes the next tyrant, Hippias, son of Pisistratus, brother was murdered, became suspicious, harsh, exiled noble clan Alcamenus, and they asked Sparta for help. Then the Sparta intervened, and Sparta's king Cleonidas attacked the Athens, deposed Hippias, and ended the tyranny. Next comes Aesagros, the pro-Sparta, a friend of Spartan king, and wanted to rule Athens, revoked citizenship of for Solon's new group, opposed Alcmenians. One Alcmenid challenged Aesagros for control, and then Cleon's victory favoring the Alcmenids initially lost as the people fought their support, never done before, won with the people's help. No struggle for the control the people wanted. Cleinias to rule, Aesagros asked Sparta to expel Cleinias. And Sparta said okay, but people revolted, drove out Spartans, and Aesagros and Cleinias the new ruler, and that is the reason why Cleinias is called the father of democracy. He restored citizenship, added new citizens, demi become basic unit of civil life and deemed it as a small community within city political unit. And the last comes the Cleinias and other reforms that he did as the father of democracy, established the Council of 500. Council's role was that prepare resolution for discussion in assembly, financial duties, receive foreign dignitaries, and you can see the Clisthenes is encouraged open debate. Any Athenian could suggest legislative, often offer amendments or argue about the laws. So that's how the basic culture of the Greek civilization, and it flourished with the time. That's all for today. I hope you must have got an overall perspective related to it. Thanks for listening.